Hey everybody, it's Sean Sewell with the Engearment.com podcast. Super excited to have on the show today a mentor to me from StrongFirst, from the SFG and the SFL, Doc Hartle. Welcome to the show, Doc.
Good morning, sir. Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. And just for reference, I have my manuals that Doc has been instructor for the SFG and the SFL recently. And you helped write the SFL program, right? That's your baby, right?
Yeah, so in 2012, Pavel called me and said, do I want to do this with him? I said, yeah. So we spent the next 6 months putting together the version 1 of the SFL manual. Then last year we did version 2, and then this year we're coming out with version 3 here shortly.
Oh, that's fascinating. And it's not a thin manual by any means. That's a lot of content there. It it's kind of fun too. I think when I was doing the barbell cert with you, I didn't tell you until the last 5 minutes of the whole course that I had not touched a barbell in a lot of years. And I'm glad I didn't touch it until I got better instruction from you so I can properly go about it. So
Cool.
I learned a lot from you in that course.
Well, great. I'm glad to hear that. It's exactly what we want to hear at StrongFirst, regardless of which cert you go to. We want to hear that people learn a lot. And, it's funny how a lot of people think they know how to do a lift or they know how to do this, whether kettlebell, bodyweight, barbell, whatever. And they come to the certifications and all of a sudden their eyes just go, it's just like, not only do we get your physical muscle, but we also get that cerebral muscle between your ears exercise very strongly.
Yes, sir. Very much so. And I love that about the StrongFirst curriculum. I mean, there's a lot of people who go into it who are very well-versed and knowledgeable in fitness and health, and they go in, and humbling is not the right word, but it's eye-opening, and it's just really cool. So,
well, you take your knowledge base and let's say it's this big, all of a sudden you get taught this much, and it's just like, wow. So that's why I teach at the barbell cert that, this next week after the barbell cert, take the week off from lifting. Not to say don't become a couch potato, but absorb that stuff, let that stuff sink in and everything else. Have some ice cream, enjoy life.
yes,
Kiss your wife, kiss your husband, whatever else, that kind of stuff. But you want to do that because you probably, put some of that stuff to the side before the certification, get ready for the certification. So that's why, there's so much stuff that you learn, whether it be, again, the kettlebell, bodyweight, barbell, either all three of those, that you just basically absorb it, and trying to get it soaked in is difficult when you just learn for 3 days. So you need to have that week after to allow yourself to do that.
that's great advice. And I love that your go-to for recovery is ice cream. That was pretty funny to hear. I opted to go for pizza, so it worked pretty well too.
Well, pizza, ice cream, chocolate chip cookies, Guinness beer, those are some of the vices of my life that I don't have a whole lot of, but when I do, trust me, I enjoy it.
I can dig that. I do like stouts too, and I try and justify it by saying they have antioxidants in them too, and they taste great. Absolutely, right. Doc. Well, how do you go about creating a curriculum as dense and as well put together as the SFL?
Well, when Pavel and I first did it, we basically kind of put together the exercises that we were going to put in it. We kind of agreed upon that, and then we basically went and started diving into it. So Pavel had his exercises he wanted to write. I had mine I wanted to write. So I kind of dived into my powerlifting background. So obviously I knew the back squat, the bench press, the deadlift very well. Pavel knew the deadlift and the Zercher squat. I knew front squat fairly well. So did he. So we basically had lots of emails going back and forth and everything else as far as, I want this, want that, everything else. He doesn't want this, I want that. So just a lot of things going back and forth. And then we literally got done. The first cert was in June of 2013 in Vicenza, Italy, which is about 40 miles west of Venice, Italy. And we probably got done right in the manual sometime, I think April, March or April. Obviously, it's a few years ago we did this. And then we had to go to print and everything else. So, over the period of about 5 years, we had a lot of things that we kind of subtracted, we added and everything else. And then that's where version 2 came out last year. And everything else. And so we reorganized the manual a little bit and put some different things in different places. And it really tended to smooth out the teaching aspect. But But just like anything else you do, it's like, when I opened my first chiropractic clinic, things were definitely rough around the edges. Now
Yeah,
things run very smoothly. I'm sure in your business as well too. When you first open it up, it's like rough, but then you start adding things, you subtract things. Now you got version 5, and things are working very well.
that's well put. And you're right. A lot of people probably listen to the show are in the fitness industry or entrepreneurs, and nobody, if they're being honest, hits the ground running. It's not an option.
That's right. That's
Well,
right.
that's wonderful. So the curriculum you and I went through was version 2, and then version 3 comes out here in 2020.
That's the plan. Yes. So
Excellent.
that's the plan. So it's kind of a hush hush thing at this point, but until it comes out. But yes, that's the idea.
Oh, I love it. The first StrongFirst certification I did was the SFG in 2015 with, I think, Czar Horton, the Beast. Yeah. Oh, what a great instructor. And what blew my mind is at the end of that course, he mentioned that it was rendition 20 something. Is that right for the SFG manual?
I think when I've kind of lost count, but I think when Pablo created StrongFirst, I think he was already on 23 or 24 as far as number of editions when he created StrongFirst.
Wow.
So he kind of continued on after that. So it's just, you do certain things with the kettlebell, barbell and body weight, all the same thing, that all of a sudden you start saying, okay, this doesn't work quite so well. So let's tweak it a little bit to the left here or to the right. And then all of a sudden that works and that goes in there. And so you do all these different things with that. And, with things that worked before, let's say, okay, we obviously technology changes, human bodies and our minds change. So with all that stuff, you start, going things a little bit different direction. Obviously, we have certain standards we still want to be able to have the students apply to.
Mhm.
Sometimes we tweak those standards as well too. So everything is kind of in flux. When you look at when I went through my first kettlebell certification in 2006, the testing standards at that time are different than the testing standards now. I would like to think they're for the better.
Yeah.
Hopefully everyone else agrees with me with that. But we've said, okay, we did this for a while, but let's turn the page, take a right turn here, and let's do something a little bit different. And it seemed to have worked out better. For example, when we did the snatch test back in 2006, we had to do, for my size, we had to do the 24 kilo, 74 reps. You could do one hand switch, and you could never set the bell down.
Wow.
So most people did it 74 divided by 2 is 37. So 37 left, 37 right, or whatever, that kind of stuff. But you can never set the bell down.
Wow.
Yeah. And if I remember right, I'm not 100% sure on this, but I think I remember right, there was no time limit with it. But I don't remember. There may have been some small rules regarding how long you can hold it at the top position or whatever else type thing.
Yeah.
But, for resting period. But again, that was the rule. So then they eventually went down to, I think it was 2010 or 2009, where they went to 100 reps for 5 minutes. And that's where we're currently at with that. And of course, you can set the bell down as many times as you want. You can do as many hand switches and everything else. But that seemed to be working better a lot right now.
I would agree with that. I've gone through the IKFF 1 and 2 several times, and they seem more based on the older version of what you're saying, where it's nonstop doing the swings, snatches, all the things like nonstop. So I prefer the StrongFirst method for sure.
Yes.
It's safety and better performance.
Well, when I trained for this newer snatch test standard, I took it as an approach, like a powerlifting approach. I mean, I created 5 sets of 20, which is 100 reps. So basically, I trained my repetition. So I did, I would do first round, I do 10 left, 10 right, set the bell down. That would take me about between 38, 40 seconds. Then I'd rest for those 20, 22 seconds till the top of the minute. And then I start again. And then I do that. And I trained myself to the point where I was conditioning wise strong enough to actually be able to last those 20 seconds. I mean, by the time I was to 80 reps, yes, I was starting to breathe a little heavier and everything else, but I didn't feel exhausted. And I remember when I set the bell down after I did my 80th rep, people were by me going, pick the bell up, you got to do it, and everything else. They're freaking out. And I'm just like, I had to put my blinders on, and I just did my last 20 reps, and I finished at 441.
Wow.
So I'll tell you that. So I actually have an article coming out for StrongFirst here shortly regarding that.
I'll look forward to reading that. You have great articles, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, very, very helpful. Speaking of snatch stuff, I had Alex on here last month, and he was talking about the double breath and even the triple breath. Did you
Hmm.
incorporate any double breath in your snatch protocol?
Double breath, yes.
Cool.
Triple breath, no. To me, and I love Alex, don't get me wrong, to me, that's
Hmm.
like too much work, too much
Yeah,
thinking. But again, I would do double breath, yes.
cool. I'm all about the double breath too. It just makes more sense to me, especially for higher reps.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Oh,
So,
this is gold nuggets of training. So anybody listening to this is going to get some really good intel from Doc. It's really cool. I love it. Well, let's talk about you. What got you into health and fitness in the first place?
well, when I went to a Catholic grade school in high school in Minnesota. My high school had a weight room that was about maybe 10 foot by 10 foot, had a universal machine and a bench press. And a lot of people who are younger may not know what a universal machine is, but basically it had, I think, 5 or 6 stations around it. You had no cables, just handles and everything else, like a bench press and a military press, all those different things on there, pull ups, and a bench press. And I remember going in there when I was like a freshman, and I saw a guy bench press, and he put 135 on the bar, 145 on each side. But hey, that's pretty cool, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went ahead and benched it, and I did it like 2 reps. The second rep, I got it to about just like 6 inches off my chest, and I stopped. I didn't have collars on, so I had to tip the bar to get the bar off my chest.
Yeah.
So I never went in the weight room the rest of that year. I was embarrassed. There's like
Yeah.
one other kid in there, but still, I was embarrassed. And then eventually, my senior year, when I started to grow, I was 5'4" as a freshman, and then I ended up being 6'1" as a senior. So I grew 9 inches.
Wow.
I was what we call late bloomer.
Yeah.
And when after I graduated, I started getting together with some friends who worked at a grocery store with me. We went to a gym. We started doing some training. They went away to school in the fall. I stayed. I went to the University of Minnesota and everything else. And I started doing some training and joining a gym called the Elite Gym. It was owned by Dale Valancourt, Dan Carlson, Jerry Jones in Minnesota, who were huge powerlifter names there. And so I said I wanted to get into powerlifting. And they said, okay. So they started showing me how to back squat, how to bench press, how to deadlift, and everything else. And a year later, after that, I lifted in my first powerlifting contest. So, my goal was to weigh over 200 pounds. I remember the first day I stepped on the scale and it said 201. I was like, yeah, like, wow,
Yep.
that's cool, And eventually I got up to, well, last year was my heaviest, about 285, 286, everything else. Now I lost some weight. I'm down about 260 right now. But I'm feeling good, doing good, and everything else. But then after that, I hurt my back when I was deadlifting. And people go, wait a minute here, you coach powerlifting, you do the SFL and everything else. How did you hurt yourself? And I said, well, obviously they showed me how to deadlift, but I didn't necessarily take everything they told me into a true form. So I ended up hurting myself. And I went and saw a chiropractor. A friend of mine recommended me to an orthopedic surgeon, but I wanted to do it more natural. So I went to a chiropractor. He fixed me and everything else. 9 months later, lifted in my first powerlifting contest and did fantastic. So I was at that point gearing toward electrical engineering as a major. I went to University of Minnesota for that. And then about 3/4 of the way through that, I also just had this epiphany one morning, as we do as young 20-year-old men, to go into chiropractic. So I switched gears and I got my biology undergrad, went to Northwestern Health Sciences University, which is in Bloomington, Minnesota. I graduated from there, moved to Green Bay for a couple of years, worked for some doctors over there. We wanted to buy a practice, so I moved down to Fort Wayne, Indiana, and I'm still here at the same practice 24 years later.
Wow. 24 years, same practice. That's
Yeah,
incredible.
been a doctor for 26 and been practicing for 26 and then here at the clinic for 24 years. So
That's impressive. Quarter century. Good for you.
yes,
Yeah,
yep,
that's
yep.
very impressive.
So
The gym I train out of, the owner of it's a physical therapist, and he's had it for 15 years. And that, in my opinion, is a very long and a very successful amount of time to have a gym. So 24 is incredible. Good for you.
So then I got into health and fitness, and I just love it. I have certifications. I'm also a certified sports medicine chiropractic. I'm also a diplomat in nutrition, so I'm clinical nutritionist as well too. I've been doing ART for active release technique for 25 years now.
Wow. You
Yeah.
see good results with ART?
Oh yeah. Very good results. Yep.
Nice.
Yep.
Nice.
Yep.
Does PNF tie into ART, or is that two totally different things?
Two totally different things. I
Yeah.
mean, ART, active release technique, is breaking up, scar tissue adhesions that have developed. It's a form of myofascial release. It's something that we, utilize on the muscles. We do it on the tendons, ligaments, even people who have peripheral nerve injuries and stuff like that. We can use that with that too. So someone comes in and they have numbness, let's say in these three fingers on the palm side, that's generally a median nerve issue. So I work on the median nerve in addition to working on the neck aspect, because that's where the nerves come from for that.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a lot of good success with that. People who have tennis elbow, lateral epicondylitis, medial epicondylitis, which is golfer's elbow. I mean, all these different things. We had a gentleman came in a work comp claim with tennis elbow. We had to fix that, but not only that, he also had some shoulder and neck issues too. So I called his human resources lady at his job, and I said, "This is what's going on." And she said, "Yep, go ahead and fix that too." So we fixed all of it, and he's been healthy now for the last 5 years.
Oh, that's great news. What a good success story. I wish I
Yes.
would have known about you and ART. I had ulnar nerve issues. So I had a transposition, subcutaneous transposition about 15 years ago. Not that good results. I wish I would have gone ART first before getting the surgery, but that's great. You're having good success with that.
Yeah, you can still do ART even after having surgery too. So we have a
Oh,
number of patients that come into my office who have had either like a cervical fusion or a lumbar fusion or whatever else. And they say, "Oh, I can never go see a chiropractor." Yes, you can. But the areas that are fused, let's say you have L4, L5 in your lower back fused. Okay, well, obviously I'm not going to adjust L4, L5, but I can adjust L3 and above, and I can adjust below L5 and take care of that, because the surrounding disc spaces and joint spaces above and below will generally have a harder hit because they basically lost one of their brothers, so to speak.
mm-hmm.
So you had 5 lumbar vertebrae to be born with, and now you only have 4. But you have 4 doing the job of 5.
Yeah.
And so the discs above and below generally will take a stronger hit. So we got to keep those healthy as well too. So we go ahead and adjust those areas. We can do ART, or, once the fusion has healed, we can do ART over the area there, scar tissue, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, definitely you can still go see a chiropractor or a physical therapist or whoever to get that stuff taken care of.
That's very helpful. The gym I train in, across the street, we have a chiropractic studio with ART next
Mm-hmm.
door. I'm gonna hit him up today and be like, "Get a trade going here.
There you go. There
Get
you
a little
go.
better." I love
Cool.
it. Well, that's really fascinating. And then I know also you did semi-pro football for a long time too.
Yeah, I played for semi-pro football for 10 years.
Yeah.
So I stopped powerlifting. My last competition was in 2005. In 2006, at age 38, decided to, try my hand at semi-pro football. And a lot of people thought I was a little bit, cuckoo in the head there, because at age 38, why would you do that?
Yeah.
But when I graduated from high school, I was 170 pounds and 6'1". Now it was, 280, 285 and 6'1". I was very strong, powerlifting, everything else. But I enjoyed football. I've only played 1 year in high school. I played my senior year in high school. So I enjoyed it immensely. So I went ahead and decided to look at some semi-pro teams around my Fort Wayne area. There's a team called the Lima Warriors, which is Lima, Ohio, which is about 70 miles from us. So I would go there twice a week for practice. So I leave after I get done with the clinic. I drive over there with another Fort Wayne guy. We'd practice, come back. And then on Saturdays, we play our games. And then next year, I moved to a team a little more local to me, about 20 miles away, called the Adams County Patriots. They're in Decatur, Indiana, which is about 20, 25 miles south of here. And that's the team we had really good success with. We actually went undefeated for 2 years. We won the national title in 2008 down in Homestead, Florida, at the national championship game. So we had really good success. And then after that, we went and played for when that team, we decided to close it down at some point. I played for another team called the Miami County Blitz, North Miami County High School in Indiana here. And they were a great team as well, too. We had some good success with them. So definitely enjoy going out there. It's, I tell my patients, I take my my anger, my energies out on the foot players so that I'm nice and gentle in the chiropractic office.
Well, that's good that you take that yin and yang approach, because you're a big, strong guy. Got to get
Yes.
that out.
Yeah, so my position I played was nose tackle, defensive tackle. And I enjoyed that immensely. They would occasionally throw me on like offensive line if they needed someone to sub in or whatever else, because I was a big body.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll be honest with you, I just hated playing offense.
Yeah.
I just could not stand it. To the way my brain works in an attack mode. So, see the ball, eat the ball, that kind of thought process. Whereas, offensive line, I have to, especially pass blocking, I had to take a couple steps back while the guy comes at me full speed. I didn't quite understand that.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it's rules of football, but still, I would want to be on attack mode. So I liked run blocking, obviously, quite well. But yeah, so that kind of drove me nuts. So that's why I enjoyed defense immensely.
That's awesome. So a very tactical kind of mindset. Just go after the ball.
That's right.
I love it. I love it. Oh, this is awesome, Doc. All right. So what is your favorite exercise for yourself and to teach? The deadlift.
I enjoy, for example, let's talk about the SFL, the barbell certification. I enjoy all the 7 lifts that we teach through that. When I was powerlifting, people would call me a subtotal god, meaning that I would have a very high squat, very high bench, and the deadlift I hung on for dear life. Subtotal means you add your best squat to your best bench, and then you deadlift after that for your total. And so if we ended the meet at the end of bench, I'd be happy because I would always do very well. The deadlift, I have a long torso. I don't have short arms, but I have a long torso. And shorter legs, shorter arms. So to deadlift, the barbell generally comes up right below my crotch. Whereas when you look at Lamar Gant, famous 132 pounder who pulled, I'm guessing a number here, maybe 690, at 132. I mean, almost over 4 times his body weight. But he would lock out the bar just above his kneecaps.
Mm-hmm.
Now granted, he had not only long arms, short torso, long legs, but he also had some scoliosis in his spine that would actually shorten his spine while he was deadlifting.
Wow.
And they have x-rays of his spine while he was deadlifting, so they could see that. And so his bar would rest maybe just the top of his knees, where at that point for me, I'm only halfway done with the lift.
Right.
So, so I enjoy teaching all of this, even though the deadlift is maybe I won't say nemesis, but it's my worst move, you could say. I still end up pulling 635.
Wow.
Which is a strong deadlift and everything else. So I trained it. I didn't go into the meet thinking I was going to do poorly or anything else. But I love teaching all the movements. A good morning exercise. I love the good morning exercise. We don't spend a lot of time at the SFL because the start of the good morning is very similar to the back squat. You stand up in the rack, you step back. So if I walked in the gym at that moment, I could not tell whether either you're doing a back squat or a good morning until you started to move your hips in the direction you moved your hips. And I saw you would have minimal knee flexion and you would have maximal hip flexion. Then I could see you're doing a good morning. But the good morning opens up a lot of eyeballs at the SFL, because the next day in the deadlift, when we teach as far as getting that maximal tension back in your hamstrings and glutes, they go, oh, he said that yesterday. Okay, I'm starting to put like the little Legos together, and now you got a beautiful art project, but you have 1,000 pieces of Legos on the table. You don't know what it's going to look like. And that's one of the reasons why we rearranged the order of the agenda of the SFL. And we did that so that you teach this and it builds on this and it builds on that and builds on that and everything else with that. But yeah, so I can't really tell you a favorite exercise. I love all of them. Sure. I'm good at the bench press. I benched 242.5 kilos, which is 534 actually. I think I did 535 in a meet too, so I was strong in the bench press. But again, and that's one of the things I always tell people, that they'll say the bench press is not a very functional movement. The bench press is, in my opinion, a functional movement because it helped me play football. Right. Meaning that there are a lot of times, and you probably heard me say this at the SFL, where I had 2 offensive linemen double teaming me. So I had 600 pounds, 200-300 pound guys, man meat, I call it, coming at me. My job was to either stay my ground or to split them and go between them. And I was successful most of the time. Sometimes I wasn't. But again, I had to have a strong upper body to be able to have one hand here, one hand here, but at the same time, a very strong lower body and core to be able to handle that stress. Um, so,
No, that's well explained. Honestly, during the SFL, the one that I was most intrigued with was a Zercher squat. I really enjoyed that. I know a lot of people didn't because of the abrasions potentially in the arms, but I thought it was a fantastic lift.
if you do it the way we teach it, where you want to come at the bar with your elbows straight, and then
Mm-hmm.
once the bar is deep in your antecubital fossa or your elbow right there, then you fold around it. You might have a little bit of red skin for a little while, but
Mm-hmm.
other than that, you're not going to have anything.
Yeah.
Some people will wear an elbow sleeve. Some people, we tell them to wear a long sleeve T-shirt or sweatshirt or whatever to kind of protect the skin if they want. But once they get used to it, it's like Pavel said at the very first SFL in Italy. He said, "Your comfort is not our concern."
I love it. He's got a lot of good quotes, and so do you. You
Well,
have a lot
thank
of
you.
good quotes.
Well,
I
when
love it.
he said that, he was talking about the front squat and putting the bar as far as in the collarbones. And obviously, a lot of people are like, ouch, that hurts or whatever else. But it's like anything else in life. Once you get used to that discomfort, now it's not uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
So when you have discomfort, and it could be, you know, even not just physical discomfort, you could have financial discomfort, you could have academic discomfort, relationship, all those different things. Once you learn to deal with that, then all of a sudden the uncomfortable becomes comfortable. And then now you just go in the gym, you put the bar in your collarbone, or there's the bar in your elbows or whatever else. And now you're just doing your lift. Now you're focused on the actual lift, not the discomfort that's possibly there or no longer there.
Oh, I love that. And I think when you touch on that on different levels too, that's
Mm-hmm.
really, really awesome. Yeah, the discomfort allows you the ends justify the means. And then the discomfort is where growth comes from too. Not just in the gym, but in life too. Like if you don't have discomfort and challenges, you're probably not going to grow and progress as a person either.
Well, it's like if you wanted to do some financial investing, or you want to put a 401k or an IRA investment vehicle, and all of a sudden you say, man, I can't afford that. But, okay, well, I'm going to put $200 a month away, and I'm going to do that. And that's $200 less that you can spend going out to the bar, going out to eat, or going to movies or whatever else. Also, next thing you know, a couple months later, you forget about that 200. It's still going in every month, but
Mm-hmm.
you forget about it. And now, so the uncomfortable, it's more between the ears than it actually is uncomfortable. Now, all of a sudden, you kind of forget about that, and you're now making more money elsewhere or something like that to be able to satisfy your needs and desires at that point. So again, whether you're uncomfortable physically or financially or whatever else academically, I live by a phrase that that which does not kill me will make me stronger.
Yeah, love that one.
And I've had, enough stress in my life at various times and everything else where I literally say that to myself. And, that will actually help me deal with it at that point and then move forward from there.
I love it, Doc. That's really good advice on a lot of levels. You had a really good line that I've been reflecting on a lot, and I probably miss saying it. Something to the effect of, there's no case in which being strong has not helped, or something to that effect. How do you word it?
Basically, there's many advantages to being strong, but there's also more disadvantages to being weak.
Yeah.
So for example, they did a grip study on people in nursing homes, and this is I'm hopefully not misquoting the study, but basically this is kind of the meat of it. That they basically did a random grip, use a dynamometer to measure your grip strength, you measure your foot pounds on it, and they found at a certain level, okay, a foot pounds, I don't remember the number, but below that level, these people were usually admitted to a nursing home or assisted living. Above
Mm-hmm.
that, they weren't. And generally, when you go and grip something, so let's say it's a laundry basket, let's say it's a 50-pound bag of rock salt, whatever else type thing, okay, you can grip those things. When you can grip that, that means you're actually carrying 50 pounds,
Mm-hmm.
okay, or your laundry basket, which is maybe 20 pounds or whatever, how heavy your laundry is. You can carry that up the stairs, okay? So when you grip strength is strong, that means you're picking stuff up, okay? And not necessarily a barbell or a kettlebell or body weight, but just normal human stuff as far as around the house. When you're not doing that stuff, your grip strength starts to go. Remember the old use it or lose it mentality,
Yep.
okay? And it's very true. If you use it, you keep it strong. If you start not using it, you will lose it. Okay.
Hmm.
Whether it be your endurance training, whether it be your strength training or whatever else, even your mental aspect too. If you're not using your mind on a regular basis, you will lose the ability. Now it can come back. Our brain, there's many studies nowadays about neuroplasticity as far as the brain actually remodeling. But I think when we started chiropractic school, they were saying that, once you're kind of set, you're set. But then studies have shown, study after study after study, that you can do that. So same thing with the grip strength. If you start losing it, you can get it back and everything else. So if you are an older person, I'd recommend get with a StrongFirst instructor, learn how to use a kettlebell. Kettlebell is a great entry into the strength aspect.
Hmm.
Body weight and barbell are two. I started with the barbell. I never knew what a kettlebell or a cannonball with a handle was,
Hmm.
and everything else. So actually, until after I got done with powerlifting. So I found out then. But anyways, I started with the barbell. But I recommend most people start with a kettlebell. Do some kettlebell deadlifts, do some goblet squats, some very basic moves that we unfortunately lose a lot of range of motion and strength with, throughout life. So back to that study. So when they found that, they said, okay, now we want to keep you training strong. So again, if you keep your grip strength strong, generally you'll stay out of the nursing home. Now, obviously, there's not a 100% correlation with that,
Sure.
but there is a strong correlation that you want to keep your grip strength strong, which means you're picking up heavy stuff, you're doing all that kind of stuff to stay strong and keep the mind going.
No, I love that. Both my folks were in assisted living and skilled nursing before that. And yeah, you can see people like in my neighborhood. I have an 85-year-old lady who does her own gardening and she's very fit and she walks her
Mm-hmm.
dogs. It's
Yep.
amazing. Like, just like you said, to use it or lose it. Yeah, like you said, it goes for all levels, not just physical, also cognitive.
Oh yeah, very much so. And
Hmm.
as a matter of fact, they've done studies nowadays, and they're saying that exercise, actually just doing the active exercise, actually enhances brain function.
Oh, I like that.
And a lot of people, because we kind of separated the body into parts, and now they're saying, okay, exercise actually enhances your brain. So, for example, on Mondays and Fridays at my clinic at lunchtime, I will generally go into my gym and do kind of a light kettlebell training, some mobility stuff, and ride the bike for a while and everything else, some light training stuff. But after that, my brain comes alive. And when I do stretching or whatever else, it's kind of a moment of moving meditation, so to speak. Now, granted, I'm listening to plenty of Metallica in the background, plenty of Megadeth,
Hmm.
AC/DC, all that stuff. So it's not a pure meditation aspect, but I usually keep a pad of post-it notes nearby and a pen, because all of a sudden an idea will come and I'll quickly go write it down and then I'll go back to what I'm doing.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
No, like you said, Doc, my methods of exercise are the kettlebell and training like we do, and also those right there, those split boards. So I'll go climb a mountain, and as you're doing so, like you said, active meditation, walking in the blizzard, 5 degrees or less, and have an idea. I'll get out my little recorder on my iPhone
Hmm.
or pad of paper and just like, okay, that's a good idea and act on that.
Right.
And yeah, so I definitely understand what you're saying.
Oh, yes.
Very
Most
cool. And
definitely.
also I like cold therapy. I love the cold.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
yeah, cold where it's
Well,
at.
I like the cold.
Yes, sir.
So we had
Yeah.
the very first U.S. SFL in Tucson, Arizona, at Danny Sueya's gym down there in July 2013, and I think the temperature was like outside was like 106 or 108.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember going into Danny's gym, and he had a good sized gym at that point, and he had, I think, 2 air conditioners, and one was on. And I said, okay. I said, will you have both on tomorrow? He says, yeah. So I get there tomorrow, and it was, yeah, he had it on, but it didn't do a whole lot.
Yeah.
And so pretty much when I was not at the hotel, I was sweating all day. But it was still a beautiful scene. It was a great working. We had like about 60 different students there. It was a good cert. I enjoyed it very much. So people say, well, if you like the cold so much, how do you play football? And we play football in 95-degree heat in the summertime with full NFL gear on.
Yeah.
Trust me, if you want a weight loss program, you put that stuff on, play for 3 hours, and I'll lose 10 pounds.
Oh, for sure.
Now, granted, most of it's water weight, but still,
Hmm.
yeah. So I don't have a problem sweating if it's for a purpose.
Yeah, I
And
like that.
obviously, teaching or playing or activity outside, that's a purpose. Just sitting outside enjoying a nice Guinness and maybe a little ice cream doesn't
Hmm.
work very well when it's that hot outside.
Oh, I
So,
love it. And also to that point, you can always dress to the cold. You can't always escape the heat, which is
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly.
Well, speaking of fitness, did you have any mentors that helped guide you along your path for fitness and health?
Well, like I mentioned before, the three gym owners of the elite gym in
Yeah.
Minnesota, Dale Valancourt, Dan Carls, and Jerry Jones, they were definitely some interesting men. Dale's probably the one I'm closest to. He was one of my groomsmen in my wedding.
Oh, cool.
And everything else. So, but Dale, we talk every so often. Pavel obviously is a mentor. He was one who, him, Mark Rifkin, they taught me kettlebells. They were at my first cert. Brett Jones was my team leader at that cert.
Nice.
So it was one of those things where those guys are mentors of mine in the kettlebell world. Craig Levinson, who's a doctor of chiropractic in Los Angeles. He's my mentor as far as chiropractic rehab. Matter of fact, I have an attached garage to my clinic, which we eventually turned into a 400 square foot training room / rehab room. So we use it back there. Matter of fact, you walked in there from the clinic, you could not tell that it was a garage. Matter of fact, the old garage door is no longer there. It's a nice double door and everything else.
Cool.
And so I think it was I can't remember what year it was, but early 2000s, I flew out to Los Angeles, worked with Craig. We spent a whole day there. And then we came back and I put together a rehab assessments form, which includes the FMS and a bunch of other tests and everything else I think are important. And then I run every one of my patients through that. And then we basically provides me a blueprint of which exercise to give them, some strength exercises, mainly body weight, but eventually we get into just some kettlebell. Sometimes we even get some barbell stuff down the road with people. But those are some mentors of mine in that regard.
Wonderful. Thank you for explaining that. There's a lot
Mm-hmm.
of good names in there. And I've had a chance to work with Brett Jones too. What a wonderful instructor. Just
Yes.
great,
Yep.
great guy.
Yeah, does
And
a
that
great job as our director of education now too. He's a great instructor with all that.
he is. And like you, he's really good about giving you really clear instructions. I was doing my goblet squat pretty deep, getting quite a bit of winking. He was like, stop going so deep. I was like, oh,
Right.
fair enough. And like you said with my snatch, I was like, I'm getting a little strain in my bicep. And you're like, don't go past, here, just don't go hyperextend.
Right.
Oh, duh. Never thought about that. Thanks, Doc. So little nuggets like that go a long ways, but
That's
you
right.
don't know until somebody more experienced, a great mentor like you points that out. And to your point too about bringing in other modalities, FMS working so well with StrongFirst. And
Mm-hmm.
then I just signed up with John and Matthew for the flexible steel here in a few months over the
Oh,
gym.
excellent.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And that'll be hosted over at Ryan's gym where you did the SFL.
Oh, in Colorado.
Yeah, isn't that cool? I was like, Matt, please bring it here. I'll be
Oh,
the first one
cool.
to sign up. So looking forward to
Excellent.
that. Yeah.
Well, good. I didn't know John was doing that there. That's awesome.
Yeah. I think it's in September of this year.
Okay.
Yeah. So definitely looking forward to that. Ryan and I are definitely doing it, and Dan as well. Yeah, it's cool too. Like when I was at the Strong Endurance event, the very first one here in Denver, and you had like the team leader meeting, you had Eric Frohart and you had Brett and you had Fabio and you had all the guys there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the common language between StrongFirst and TRX and Gray Cook was there, and everybody was speaking a similar language, and it was really cool. And they gave me a lot of hope that the fitness industry would kind of unite on a common front to try and help more people and less hit kind of based workouts and
Right.
crushing people. So it was really
I
cool to
agree.
see that. Yeah.
Well, then Pavel's, recent work with Strong Endurance,
Mm-hmm.
he, with his immense study in that field there has helped as far as basically say, listen, you don't have to kill yourself. You don't have to go in the corner and puke in a bucket and come
Mm-hmm.
back and everything else to get yourself healthy and strong and have more endurance and strength endurance and everything else. So if you ever don't have a chance to, or if you have a chance to go see Strong Endurance, go to it. I recommend that. I think he's got one in the U.S. or two in the U.S. this year, one in Europe or something like that. But I think,
Mm-hmm.
Strong Endurance is very much the very first version of it. There was a fair amount of biochemistry, which,
A little bit.
so when I went through chiropractic school, we had biochemistry, which I absolutely loved. So I was like just listening to him speak, and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that. People are just, the eyeballs are spinning in the back of their head. But then the second version, he tweaked some of that and didn't go quite into as much biochemistry, and spoke more about the practical applications. And it was great. First one was great too, but the second was even better. Again, you tweak things. And
Exactly.
by doing that, it actually made things a lot better. But if you got a chance, go listen to him at Strong Endurance. It's fantastic information.
It is. And I'll second what Doc said. I'm glad I wasn't the only one. I had pages, and I went through 2 pens in that course, just taking notes. I was like, "What are we learning? This is way beyond my head." But in practice, it works very well. I picked Eric Frohart's brain. I said, "Eric, what are you doing?" He's like, "I'm doing the 033C." So we did 033C. We compared notes. We did 044, and then we wrote that paper together for StrongFirst. And personally, in my life, as well as people I train, has seen such good results using that more structured, less crushing, mitochondrial happy training mechanisms. And it just worked amazing. So like you said, anybody who takes their health and fitness seriously and is a coach should definitely check out Strong Endurance.
Just a point there, you said 033 and 044. People who don't know what those are the plans that Pavel put together in Strong Endurance. So if you follow the 033 plan, it tells you how to do it. If you do the 044 plan, it tells you how to do it. So those are just the name of the plan. So just wanted to share that with your audience there.
Oh, good clarification. There's a lot of plans in the book too. There's some I haven't even looked at yet, because they're just so deep in the intellectual stuff.
Well, we have the same thing in the SFL manual too, as far as tons of programs in there. So people do have favorites, and they like to come back to them. I do tell them every so often, do something, take a left turn, take a right turn, do something a little bit different with that. But some people like the StrongFirst Foolproof program. Some people like, as far as Power of the People. Some people like the Stravetsky cycle. So it just depends on who you are and what you find and everything else with that. And same thing with Strong Endurance as well too.
No, you're very right in that. And what I enjoyed too about, I think it was a day 2 or day 3, we sat down and spent a good over an hour talking about planning for the SFL, planning for that individual in the class or their students.
Right.
And you made it make sense. It wasn't like super heady. It was just, here's how to apply it, get it done.
Well, and that's one of the things, my goal as far as when we teach the programming stuff, and again, the exercises as well too, but the idea is that Monday morning, so we teach Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Monday morning, when you go back to your gym, we want you to have the tools available to take one of your students and say, okay, this is what we're going to do and everything else. We want you to be equipped as a student, as an instructor, to be able to go back Monday morning and teach them what they need to know, both from a programming aspect, also from a training aspect. Both things would be very applicable with that. Absolutely.
There were so many really well explained exercises in there. One of my favorites that I've got everybody doing is the Hartle plank. Can you explain what the Hartle plank is?
The Hartle is, so you have a normal hard style plank, where you're on your elbows, your toes are on the floor and everything else. And basically your glutes are squeezed, your abs are tight, your lats are engaged, everything is with that. Okay. Most people, they do it at plank properly, they shouldn't be able to last more than 30 seconds, maybe 45. The outliers, maybe 60 seconds, but even still, that's even difficult to do that. The Hartle plank is something I started testing with my patients, and I started seeing some good success with that. And basically, it's taking that tension volume knob and going from, say, 5 or 6 with the regular plank and turning it up to 10. So it's like listening to Metallica when Enter Sandman comes on. If you listen to it at 5, or you listen to it at 10. I listen to it at 10, okay? But, you listen to it at 5, that's fine. But the thing is that with the Hartle plank, basically you're isometrically contracting your elbows and pulling them down towards your waist, okay? You're then taking your toes, okay, which are in, your foot's in dorsiflexion and your toes are in extension. You're now driving them straight into the ground. So if you were, let's say, hanging from a pull-up bar, and let's say you're just hanging vertically, and all of a sudden you took your legs from the hip down and you kept them straight and you brought them up to like an L sit, okay? So you're doing hip flexion with that. So you want to be able to do that during the plank. But the interesting conundrum with that is the fact that your weight, you're supposed to be squeezing your glutes, but the only way you can bring your hips in the hip flexion is if you relax your glutes. So it's like if I took my arm and I did this, okay, I have my bicep and tricep maximally flexed. So if you were to try to do this or do this, you could not move either direction. Okay. So it's an isometric contraction. So you're increasing the isometric contraction of the Hartle plank. And I didn't call it that. That was Pavel. I showed it to him at his last Naked Warrior seminar. He held, I think, in 2012, and he was gracious enough to call it that. So we've kept that in the manual and everything else. But what I recommend a lot of people when they do that they don't go from doing a hard style plank to doing that right away. So the elbows and feet. So you want to be able, I would go from the hard style plank to maybe spend a week or two with just the elbows. Okay. And then a week or two with just the feet, and then put the two pieces together. And
that's good advice. All right. Yeah. Excellent.
So it's like a progression there. And generally you can maybe 10 seconds, 20 seconds, max, maybe 30 seconds, a lot of tension there. A lot of tension.
And if a person's doing it for more than 10 or 20 seconds, they're probably not contracting enough, right? Like they're just,
if they're doing what?
If they last you more than 20 or 30 seconds, they're probably not contracting enough, right?
They're probably losing the contraction.
Exactly.
So something's not, so one of the things I teach when I teach the plank to my patients and to students at the barbell or even kettlebell cert, I teach them tuck, tighten, squeeze. Tuck your pelvis, tighten your abs, squeeze your glutes last. But you need to do it in that order, because if you squeeze your glutes too early, then it's hard to tuck your pelvis. So that's when you squeeze your glutes, it's like I like you close your house door. Okay. You close the door. That's tuck and tighten. Squeezing it is locking the deadbolt. The door's already closed. Now you're just making sure it stays closed, and that's why you're locking the deadbolt. So same thing here with the glute squeeze, it's locking the deadbolt. So if you squeeze your glutes a little bit too early, you're not going to get the tuck tighten done properly.
I love it. So it's tuck, tight, squeeze.
Tuck, tighten, squeeze. Yep.
Perfect. Yep. Put that in the show notes. That's very helpful. Oh, I love it. And you mentioned Metallica. So I like Metallica quite a bit too. And it's kind of fun. I had not listened to Metallica in 15 to 20 years until the SFL. And then we listened to nothing but Metallica, which I liked. And it brought back a lot of good memories. What is your favorite Metallica song?
Well, I'm going to be boring. I'm going to say Enter Sandman. I know a lot of people like other stuff there too, but Enter Sandman's one. Seek and Destroy. Seek and Destroy is a song that I listened to as I was getting dressed for a football game. Because in my mind, the defensive job was to seek out and destroy. Now, obviously, I play within the rules. I never hurt anyone or I intended to hurt anyone. Someone made me mad. I didn't go look for their knee and take their knee out and everything else. We all had to go to work on Monday.
Right.
So we're semi-pro, which means we actually pay to play. So in that regard, but Seek and Destroy is one of my favorite songs. They had a song on Death Magnetic album called All Nightmare Long. It's a long song, but you can hear the drums very well with Lars Ulrich. Just the words on it, All Nightmare Long. It's just, it kind of appeals to me in that regard. It's funny because when I was listening, we trained hard at the gym one day. We're going home with one of my kids was with me, and all of a sudden I put on Beethoven on my truck radio, and he looked at me going, he thought like I was on drugs, like I was losing my mind, my eyeballs were coming out of my head. Why listen to Beethoven, Dad? I said, well, I just cranked out a hard workout. I listened to some heavy metal music and everything else. I need myself to calm down. And it's more for my CNS, nervous system and everything else to calm down. So I put some Beethoven on, listened to some of his symphonies and everything. And by the time I got home, I was nice and relaxed and everything else. But at that point, when I left the gym, I was just like, ready to break something in half or whatever else kind of thing. So it's when I used to coach youth football. So when we tell the kids, flip the switch. So when you get to the game, when you get dressed and everything else, now it's time to flip the switch. You're not nice little Johnny now. You're going to go out there and play an aggressive, assertive game. You're going to have some physical contact and everything else. Don't hurt the other kids. Matter of fact, if you knock them down, put your hand out and help them back up. And then knock them down again. Yeah. Your hand and help them back up. But again, be gracious enough as a nice Christian to be able to do that kind of thing. So same thing here with that aspect. So we need to be able to flip the switch. And so that's, so a lot of people are surprised that I listen to that stuff. We, every year in Fort Wayne, they have a Holiday Pops, which is where they have the Fort Wayne Symphony, and they spend about 2 hours playing some of the typical Christmas music, but it's all orchestra. Yeah. So I love listening to that stuff because to me, that's how music started. Violin and cellos and trumpets and drums and everything else, all that stuff together. But back to Metallica. Sorry, I kind of digressed there. Let's see, what else? Kill 'Em All. I like that
Mm-hmm.
song. That was off their first album. Everything else. Let's see what else is just, yeah. So Leper Messiah, that's one of my favorite ones. That's an
Yeah.
old song.
Mm-hmm. Off Master.
When they did the Black Album, which is where Enter Sandman was on, you had Sad But True. I like that song too.
Mm-hmm.
There's another song called Of Wolf and Man.
Yep.
But they hired Bob Rock as a producer, and so they shortened some of the songs, and that's
Mm-hmm.
actually one of the best-selling albums of all time. They went from their 6, 7, 8 minute ballads that they had on the Injustice for All, Ride the Lightning, and everything else, to these shorter songs. Load has some shorter, Reload has some shorter. And then when they came out with Saint Anger, they kind of took a right turn, then another left turn, and a right turn with that one album. Death Magnetic started bringing them back, and Hardware, I think, kind of brought them back again, which is their last album.
Oh, that's awesome. As a Metallica fan, a fanatic, I should say. Yeah, when the Black Album came out and they brought Bob Rock on for like more production skill and value and depth, yeah, it made everything sound good. But as like a Metallica fanboy, I was always about Justice and Master Puppets.
Right.
Yeah, Orion, like those big opuses. And to your
I
point,
love Orion. I love that song.
Me too. It's my favorite by far. And then about classical, my favorite kind of classical is Baroque. So like Bach, Johann Sebastian Bach. And like you said, the dichotomy, like the give and the take, the yin to the yang, it takes balance. If you're all out all the time, you're going to break, which is kind of why I got sick last week after 100 meetings with like Patagonia and stuff. Went too much and didn't have enough of this. But
right.
It's cool that you have that balance too, and you can appreciate classical.
Well, I like other music too. I like Megadeth, AC/DC, Five Finger Death Punch, all these different bands like that. So I have a playlist on my phone I call Heavy Metal, and it basically has a lot of different, there are obviously a lot of Metallica's on there, but a lot of other bands as well too. Mike Sousa, Fabio Zonin have got me listening to Slayer. I like some of their songs as well too. Yeah. So, some of their aspect has had some good music as well too. So, it's for me, when I'm training in the gym, I need to listen to that stuff.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I used to have a former bookkeeper who came in. My gym's attached to my clinic. So when I work out in there, I tell them the door's closed, keep the door closed. If you need to come in, come in. But she came in and I had a Slipknot on there. I had Psychosocial. And so I paused and she says, Dr. Mike, when I hear that song, all I want to do is choke the crap out of you. That song makes me want to do. I mean, she's a very nice lady, very gentle lady, but she goes, when I hear that, that's all I want to do. So I know that music can sometimes make people angry or whatever, but to me, it's like, it's beautiful music to me. So
yeah, and it gets you in the right mind space to go lift some heavy metal.
Exactly. And when I was playing football, I listened to it before I go on the field. So I went on that field with the right mindset. I wasn't on the field adjusting one of my patients or talking to a colleague or whatever else. I was there to hit someone.
I got it. That's awesome. No, I really appreciated it too, because I had kind of tabled Metallica for a long time. And so when I was listening to it, I was putting up numbers on the barbell that I hadn't ever attempted to before. So it helped me get in the right mindset too. And also being around you and the great coaches, Enrique and Laura, who I still have her deadlift socks, which are just ski socks. So it goes back to her. They're pink and they have unicorns on them. My wife is confused why I have those. But
there you go.
Yeah, it was a really fun course.
Well, when we were there, Ryan put on a Metallica. I think it was like who was it, Pandora or whatever else. There he put Metallica playlist on there. So I usually have a playlist on my phone. If they have Bluetooth, I can hook into it. But then he just put it on there, so it was good. So they played some good Metallica songs, so it was good stuff.
Oh, they sure did. Well, as we're getting towards the end here, is there any kind of advice you would give to coaches or entrepreneurs or fitness professionals out there?
I would say to strength coaches and even just personal trainers, get some training. Here in the United States, we do not require, you can have a high school education and that's it. You can call yourself a personal trainer from, you graduate from high school, you can call yourself a personal trainer. There's no continuing education credits. In Brazil, for example, they have to have a physical education degree before they can become a personal trainer.
Wow.
So my girlfriend who's down there, she's going through that right now and everything else. So, get some training. Obviously StrongFirst, we do have a number of training. We got as far as barbell, kettlebell, body weight. I'd recommend going to all three. All three are very good
Mm-hmm.
with that. We also have some program. We have Plant Strong, which is a little bit more advanced than what we teach the programming at the barbell cert and everything else. Barbell, we talk about more linear and nonlinear progressions and stuff like that. Plant Strong is based off of Pavel's research into the Soviet-Russian system as far as programming, and it's just fantastic, actually. And I know Fabio's wrote many good programs for people that have done well with that. But again, there's many world champions in powerlifting who have been used straight linear progression and did very well with that. So, basically it's how you decide you want to go, but get some training, go to an FMS, learn how to do that, do some assessment aspect. There's other assessment tools out there. I personally feel the FMS, SFMA is the best out there.
Mm-hmm.
SFMA is for people who are doctors or like physical therapists, people like that. FMS is for everyone. You can do that. I would get a fitness certification. I'm a CSCS for the NSCA, National Strength and Conditioning Association. CSCS is Certified Strength and Conditioning Specialist. I've been that since 1992.
Oh, wow.
I was one of the first chiropractors in the United States, I think, that got that. So I've had that for years. It works great. But even a CPT, if you don't have a college degree, a CPT, certified personal trainer, is good. Get some CPR training so you can handle if be a first responder. Someone all of a sudden is doing a kettlebell workout or doing some riding a cycle or whatever, and all of a sudden they have a heart attack. You can at least help them immediately when someone calls 911. Do these things. Become very knowledgeable about that. Don't just go out there and watch someone do a pec deck for 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
And then when you teach someone, teach them full body exercises, meaning things like a squat, whether it be a goblet squat, whether it be a kettlebell hack squat. I know Pavel Masek from Czech, he teaches that in his StrongFirst Resilient course, and everything else. So he teaches that, and it works very good. I did that for years and everything else. But become knowledgeable and share that knowledge with your students. Do full body stuff, because when you pick up a bag of rock salt, when you have to do garden work, like you said, that 85-year-old lady down the street from you, these are people who are doing whole body stuff. There's nothing where she's doing a 10-pound bicep curl and everything else. That's more for bodybuilding. So if you're not a bodybuilder, stay with the full body stuff.
That's great advice. And to your point, I've been through the SFB with Karen Smith, fantastic instructor. A lot to take away from that. SFG 3 times and SFL with you. That is fantastic advice. And it's mind-boggling to me that you can do that in America without having any kind of certification and call yourself a trainer, which is weird. But
for example, the CSCS, which was what I am, Brett Jones is that as well too. A few others, us in the leadership are. You do have to have a bachelor's degree or an undergrad degree to be able to sit for the test.
True. I have a CPT because I don't have the degree you guys have. Right.
So that's an organization's standards, not a national or federal standard. Canada has something. They don't have quite the same thing as Brazil, but Brazil is probably one of the more restrictive aspects. So you have to have a physical education degree. So my girlfriend, she's a doctor of physiotherapy down there. So she's got her DPT, but she still needs a physical education degree to be able to be a personal trainer, even though she's already a doctor in another health field.
Wow.
Whereas here in the States, if you're generally a doctor, medical, chiropractic, physical therapy, whatever else, people think you understand the whole body. Not everyone does understand the body in those professions, but you tend to understand the body better than the average person does. But again, get some certifications, go to a certification. We just came out with a workshop in StrongFirst called the Foundations Workshop. Fabio in Italy just put on the first one. I believe it's a 4-hour course or something like that, 4 or 5 hour course. It's kind of an introduction, a lot of this to the principles and standards that we teach at StrongFirst. So I'm very curious to see how that turns out, but he said he had great results with it and everything else. So I'm very excited for that. But that's a kind of a very minimal way for people to get involved with the StrongFirst aspect with that.
That's great. Well, hopefully they offer those more here in America as well. The very first course I took was the intro to kettlebells with Mark Snow, and it helped me understand the principles. And then immediately that night, I signed up for the SFG that night because it really helped.
Cool.
Yeah, so it was very inspiring. Well, that's really helpful. Any last words of advice, um, like quotes or anything that you really live by?
Well, one I teach a lot at the SFL is plan to work, work to plan.
Yes.
But that quote obviously goes to many aspects of life, not just your physical training. It can go to your financial life, your academic, your relationships. Plan to work, work to plan. Um, the better, the more frequently you do that, the faster you get at doing that. So that's something you have to sit down with a pen and paper all the time. You can sometimes do it in your head. But again, when you put together a plan, so when I would power lift, I would put together a 12-week plan or 8-week or 6-week or whatever else type plan. And I would plan out every workout to the point where I actually would plan the weights that I wanted and everything else. Sometimes I had to deviate from that, but that's okay. Sometimes you have to, take a right turn or left turn or whatever else with that. But again, as long as you have a plan, you can access that. If you want to save money, put together a plan. You can't just say, oh, I'm going to throw $200. Where are you going to put the $200? Is, $100 going to go in bonds? $100 going to go in stocks? What are you going to do with all that stuff? You need to have a plan with that. Look at the calendar, and even in a relationship wise, if you're married or have a girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever else that, you want to have, okay, let's do this, let's do that and everything. Recent book I'm actually reading, which I'm kind of excited about, is called The Daily Stoic.
Oh yeah.
It's STOIC. And Pablo Mosek's one who got me kind of interested in it, not that particular book, but kind of reading that of Marcus Aurelius, Seneca. I'm slaughtering his name, Epictetus or whatever, if I pronounce his name properly. These are gentlemen from Greek. Obviously, Marcus was from Rome. So these are people who basically think more logically. So they actually have in there 366 or 365 days. So every day there's something to read. And literally it's like 2 or 3 paragraphs. So it's not a heavy reading or anything else. But a lot of things are actually applied directly to life. And I wish more people would read. I've just finished the first month of January, obviously, and now into February. So it has some really good quotes in there. So I recommend people get that book and just, pick it up and read it for 10 minutes a day and you're done. But it has a lot of good things in there. So, and a lot of things apply. I know Pablo's kind of that. Pablo Tzotzline, the owner and chairman of StrongFirst, he does a lot of that stuff. I know Pablo Mosek, so it's interesting to hear the things in the book. So it's a good book.
That's awesome. No, I've definitely been a fan of Stoicism for different reasons over the last several years. And a lot of it is applicable, especially through challenges in life. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Without that, I don't know how I get through a lot of stuff I've been through. Well, I'm going to put that book in the show notes so people can benefit from that. That's something that's easily accessible. And anybody can read 2 paragraphs a day. If they can't, then they're not budgeting their time right.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, Doc, I can't thank you enough for jumping on here and for your time and for your wisdom and for your leadership, not just in strength training, but in life in general. You're a really fantastic person. I really appreciate you. So
well, and I appreciate you too. So
well, thank you, sir. I appreciate that
very much. I'm glad we're able to do this.
Me too. Well, Doc, all the best to you. Where can people find you to learn more about your practice?
My practice is Allen County Family and Sports Chiropractic. My website is chiropower.com. So CHIROPOWER.com. I'm on Instagram at Dr. Michael Hartle, Twitter, same thing at Dr. Michael Hartle, Facebook. So a lot of people can find me pretty much anywhere.
Excellent. And I'll put all those in the show notes. And I noticed you had an Instagram for your chiropractic facility too.
Yes, that's ChiroPower at ChiroPower. So I just did that. So yes, so we do have that. So
awesome. You're very active. Well, Doc, thank you for your time and for your expertise. I appreciate being on the show.
Well, thank you, Sean. I appreciate you as a person, and good luck with your podcast, and hope things continue to go well for you.
Well, thank you, sir. I really appreciate that. All right.